It's just fucking so bizarre that this is where the level transition point is. Why? We enter the next stage, immediately facing the wrong way and immediately taking damage. A gunship flies overhead and I just know. I can just feel it in my veins that this level is going to be bullshit. I just know it. And well, soon enough it turns out to be a broken mess that has no direction or, reason for existing. I run down this corridor of cargo containers, trying my best to dodge the rounds from the gunship, but I keep taking damage. And I don't know where I'm going. And I don't know if I'm meant to take down the gunship or keep running. Again, it's just unclear. I kill a single manhack, and then I discover that these random drones drop health. That'll fix my health problems at the very least. And finally, direction. I find a bridge joining the two sides of the port, so I figure my objective must be over there. The gunship takes a few passes at me, but I do ultimately make it across the bridge. But I think this is the wrong way. I think there's nothing over here. So I must go back the way I came and try the other end of this side of the port. But yet again, I get confused because there's nothing here either. But across the water is stuff. So how do I cross? Well, there's boats downriver, and yet again, my eyes roll back and the words jumping puzzle appear in my vision because for fuck's sakes. You think Half-Life 1 would have taught people that jumping puzzles in a Half-Life game are probably not a good idea, but here we are again. So I know I have to be quick because I have thousands of manhacks in the air following me. There's no way in hell I'll be able to survive even one of them hitting me. I also know I can't kill the gunship. And because if I stand here, the gunship's going to kill me, so I just have to jump. Fuck. So the water's toxic or something. Fuck, I don't know. I gotta restart. Thanks, NoClip. I'll do the ship run in less than 12 parsecs or whatever the fuck. The water clips into the ladder. Normal stuff, really. I save, and now I need to go find this fucking ship I'm meant to be finding. And luckily, in a weird stroke of genius for this game, it's really clear where I need to go. I get a flare, I just get friendly NPCs shooting. It's actually, honestly, quite nice for this game. Finally.
Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for by this some have entertained angels without knowing it. Hebrews 13:2.
Oh Christ, he's one of those people, is he? He's a theatre kid given a job. Oh God, oh fuck.
Welcome aboard, gentlemen. I am Captain Roosevelt. Tell me, who is in charge of all these warriors?
Why does Mitchell look like he's a prep being selected as the captain of a dodgeball match?
Please step up.
Like, I know, I couldn't believe it either, bud. They chose you, the guy who slept through the 7-hour war.
Your name, young man?
I'm Sergeant...
I have no interest in your rank. Your name. Who are you?
Mitchell.
Mitchell, huh? Yes, Mitchell. A name with many meanings. For some, the meaning is a gift from God. For others, who is like God? Which one are you, Mitchell? Are you a gift from God sent to save us? Or perhaps you are God himself, come to doom our worthless lives?
Perhaps.
So, as it turns out, Mitchell is God, or in service of God. It's another self-insert writer-director thing. It comes off as really dumb, so why does this random captain we just met say this? And why does Mitchell kind of believe it? This man has an ego so big that he doesn't question whether or not he should be in charge of a small army, which is something I will be getting back into, because this game makes a really fucking dumb decision.
Perhaps.
He's cursed.
Cursed, eh? What kind of curse is this?
Nothing but some bullshit.
Whoever is at the top of his command dies. Colonel Q, Sergeant Harvey, they're all dead. But whatever happens, he lives.
It's just a coincidence. There's no such thing as a curse.
We'll see about that, Sergeant. You and your men from now on are under my command. Welcome to Avalon Vale, and welcome to the crew.
So, yeah, we get this really strange tension between Bitchell and everyone else because everyone in charge of Bitchell dies. It's another Messiah thing regardless, but the ship is also called the Avalon Vale. Avalon is a King Arthur thing. I believe it's the island where the sword is found, or it's the lake or something. It's a mythical fantasy name for a ship, and it's, it's one of those things which is meant to sound cool, but it just sounds weird. It's a name that never pops up again, or doesn't really have like a meta importance to the narrative at all. And then we just get dropped into the weirdest beginning to a mission ever. We start facing our allies, which spawn, well, weirdly. And now we have the first of many wave-based survival sections. And it may be hard to believe, based off the runtime of this video, but we're only about halfway through the game now. Yeah, I mean, trust me, I feel it way more than you do. But let's talk about shooting at faraway objects for at least a few moments here. And it will just be a few moments, because this is just shooting things for 5 minutes. There is no joke, nothing else. Enemies don't really even get close enough to attack. The only hassle is the Vortigons, who can just one-shot you. So as long as I die quickly, it's probably fine. Performance also really dies here as well. There's heaps of rain effects, heaps of little explosions, heaps of enemies spawning in constantly. Plus, as far as I can tell, friendly AI really brings this engine to its fucking knees. And this will turn up again, so it's not a singular case. But there's not really much to be said about this sequence. It's mostly boring and serves as a stopgap for the next cutscene.
It's not a curse. You made a deal with the devil. Here, you have it.
I guess it really is a deal with the devil. The devil being G-Man, his interdimensional cosmic police time-traveling task force, but the game really wants us to be sad over the death of the captain, but the last time we saw him, which was also the first time, was 5 minutes ago, and he has been a massive prick. So why would I care? It's often a beginner's rider's crutch to fall back onto death as an emotional moment, and it can work. But it needs to be set up over time, and the character needs to be interesting or at least memorable. I don't remember this guy's name. It's only now when I'm doing the VO for this video that I can remember his name as Captain Roosevelt. And it's meant to be a meaningful moment. But he didn't even sacrifice himself. He just got blown up and then said that we served the devil. It's hardly a good moment to end on.
Well, it looks like you're the captain now. Captain Bitchell.
Yeah, sure, why not? This random cunt we met a few hours ago would lead us into the future. Why the fuck not? Like, everyone on the boat just watched a dying man say that this guy's cursed or is making deals with devils or is unlucky or whatever the fuck. So why not make him the leader? Like, Christ, I guess since he's in charge, he won't die because... Oh, then, no, but he... I don't know, this curse or whatever makes no sense. So I don't really care. Like, fucking Christ. And this cutscene ends with us jumping 3 years into the future. We end up roughly, I think it's 17 years before Half-Life 2. We're now closer to Half-Life canon. And yeah, we do eventually catch up to Half-Life 2, so don't worry. We do get to see Gordon again, sadly.
It's been 3 years since the 7-Hour War. There are no more countries, only territories where they once were. All the governments having been replaced by one, the Combine. The alien...
We also get a massive monologue of information, because why the fuck not? It basically serves to fill us in on the stuff that Half-Life 2 does within its first 5 minutes of actual gameplay, which is funny considering what you will see in a few chapters' time. But we learn about the Combine, the inhibition field, the various cities around the world, the slow draining of the ocean. And yeah, we're still going with the idea that the Combine doesn't have boats, but at least Mitchell acknowledges that the sea is indeed below the sky.
But they lacked naval capabilities due to their overall goal of draining that resource. Until that happened, we needed a way to defend our ship from their air superiority. And for that, we needed to go to City 9, otherwise known as New Alaska.
It's snowy, cold, and I think Mitchell wants to go home. But first, he needs to stumble forward into a hole. In what is admittedly could be a cool sequence, we have to navigate a frozen cave with a single flare, but much like most of this game's cool moments, it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't move past its premise. I always end up wishing there was puzzles or combat to spice it up. It often, in most of this game, the cool moments are just walking with nothing else, but it looked cool at least. At least I think it did. Looking back in the footage, it looks okay. I think my standards have just dropped to a point where a level that doesn't have a obnoxious visual artifacting was an example of good design. Which is, very sad. We do eventually merge into a giant open corridor, valley, and it does look pretty alright. We got some nice volumetrics in the distance. The house in front of us, or the shed as I like to call it, has a sniper rifle in it, a tool that will prove pretty much useless for the next section, but at least it's, a sniper rifle. It's cool looking, I guess. It's a bolt action, it's wooden, it has a scope. I dig the scope. I love that it actually is a bolt action. It's not like a semi-automatic disguise as a bolt action, as so many games do. But I do wonder if some of this weapon was lifted from Insurgency or perhaps even Day of Defeat. The entire sequence is basically just walking around while these reskinned antlions spawn around you. They either spawn really close or really far away. You have enough ammo to kill them all, especially considering the rifle is an instant kill on them. But this sequence goes on for a while. Like a few minutes. It's the same backdrop, the same gameplay. It gets, frankly boring really quickly. But somehow, in hindsight, it's much more enjoyable than the next bit of gameplay. You keep going until you hit this massive wall. The important part isn't actually the wall, by the way, but the little bit to the right of it, a series of pipes that allow you to move up. But we need to talk about the pipes in this game, because I don't know what the developer was thinking. I think more importantly, the animators were thinking. Because this is shit. But I do need to talk about this, first off. In the lower corner, the left-hand corner, you may notice that the chapter name is permanently on the screen. Well, I had dinner and I came back, and then it was just permanently on the screen. So I'm not really sure what happened, but it's on the screen for pretty much the rest of the game. It's pretty annoying from my point of view, but we just have to live with it. I think it's honestly a pretty half-decent analogy for how long this game seems as well. But pipes. Well, pipes are shit. These use the same system as climbing onto tall ledges, but this time the animation is much more horrid. It takes forever to do this pipe. And you have to watch that jerky animation every time you move up, inch by inch by inch. It is so bad. I understand the devs thought this would be a cool, spy thriller moment, but it's not. It's just terrible, frankly. It makes me think that the developers just, they played Mirror's Edge the weekend before and went, I should play that. But he couldn't, place his finger on what Mirror's Edge did well, which just so we're on the same page here, dear listener, is animations and a sense of weight. Both of these things aren't done here. Well, they're done, but it's not in a way that... It's kind of in the same way that a sandwich can be done with nothing in between the slices of bread but butter. Which is to say that it's shit and half-baked. And then, even when you reach the top, you just have to do more terrible stuff. We get what is meant to be a puzzle? Maybe? I don't know. You plug in this cord, you hit a button, and nothing happens. There's nowhere to go, and I mean nowhere. It doesn't make any sense from a game design perspective, because this is meant to be a way around the locked door in the wall. But instead, this unlocks that door. But you won't know that unless you go down there and stand next to it. It's painfully unclear what that button did until you backtrack. And yes, that means back down the pipes, which is so fucking painful. Plus, when you do this, you have this inkling in the back of your skull that you may have to go back up these pipes if this wasn't for the door. But, yeah, thankfully, it was for the door. Thank fuck. Ooh. Okay, it's gone. Thank fuck. It just ran off into a wall? Like, fair enough. I'll just keep running and shooting antlines, even though it's boring, but we do eventually, over the course of the rest of this mission, which drags on again for literal minutes, is that we get a glimpse of more hunters. But we can't get up to where they are, so we just have to soldier on. Eventually, though, you do encounter some snipers. And they basically turn this game into a rhythm game. The sniper effectively fires once every X amount of time. So you can time your dodges and get into cover so you don't get hit. But the rough part of this section is that every sniper gets closer to you, so the time between shots gets shorter and shorter. It is still very easy to get through, but it is kind of a slug, as at times you do have to just keep on reloading your quick saves. It is also extremely weird how this is how they decided to break up the walking and shooting outlines from earlier. They just combined walking and getting shot at. It's strange. Like, we've been seeing hunters for the last half hour. Why not use them instead of these snipers that really just annoy me more than anything else? And to be fair, I will give the devs some points here. This is different. And different is good most of the time. But it stands out to me when I think about the game, and it sticks out as a sore spot. I would have preferred a much more linear section. Like, what if we have the wall with snipers on it and heaps of cover, and we have to get through a hole in the wall or something? That could have been interesting. And probably easier to implement as well. And as it stands out, it's just a weirdly designed and placed sequence. There are multiple sections where 2 or more snipers have line of sight on you. And this means you're dodging at 2 or more different beats, and it becomes awkward really quick. Granted, the level has plenty of cover, but a lot of the time the snipers have overlapping areas of fire, so you can be in cover for one, but not the other. And later in the level, one such sniper literally ignores cover or world geometry altogether. So I don't really think that having cover is a defense for this shithole of a section, but more like something the devs put in to hide their mistakes, as it was quicker than redesigning an entire sequence. And I don't really think they wanted to do that, as the next 30 minutes or so are just more snipers. They do add in some antlines to fight as you dodge around, so that was neat, but it just keeps going. It never really escalates past the mechanical complexity of that first encounter. The last one that shoots through the floor did have to be skipped via no-clip, because I tried multiple times and nothing was working. And frankly, I think I deserve a break at this point. This game is kind of shit in nearly every aspect. So if I have to no-clip past a section, I really don't care at this point. Just so we're on the same page. The next sequence is, thankfully, a return of form for Hunt down the Freeman. We load into a base of some sorts. It's actually somewhat atmospheric too, which surprised me. It sounds and looks creepy. The design of the place seems somewhat believable as well. This is a massive plus for me. It is the only level so far that seems like it could have been in Half-Life 2, or the same planet, frankly. I quite like the fact that we roll into this high-tech alien outpost with a sniper rifle. It's very tonally right. We are rebels who live on a boat. We should not have heaps of ammo for standard military equipment. We see our enemies for this next section, and they're even reskinned Elite Combine from Half-Life 2. The reskin looks somewhat okay, and the AI holds up too. I really, honestly quite like this section if I am to be honest. It reminds me of Half-Life 2, and that is a good thing. It's finally invoking the game that is trying to expand. The combat is honestly quite fun. I really do like it when it's allowed to play to its strengths. Like, I've stated in this video that I really like the ability to aim down sights in Half-Life. It adds another layer onto what is already a fantastic core system. It feels good. Weapons sound good. They may not do the most damage, with the exception of the rifle, but I do wish the pistol was useful. But the rifle is a fun weapon to use, so is the newly acquired pulse rifle, which doesn't seem to have its iconic secondary function, as that is now replaced with a pair of shitty iron sights that are next to impossible to aim with. But the hipfire is still fairly usable, so it's not the worst. We do also see the inclusion of stalkers, but Mitchell doesn't really seem all that fazed by it. So we, like the devs, will ignore the ethical considerations of slave labour, just for a moment. I can't really fault this section all that much though. The stalkers were probably just thrown in at the last minute of set dressing. I can say that, as per normal, the levels seem way too big. It makes aiming a little bit weird at times as well, because you're aiming at such a large distance with iron sights. Plus the sound design suffers, because enemy weapons are just too far away to sound impactful. But overall, the section is fun, if not a little on the short side. And then the game says fuck you, punches me in the face and takes all of that away by placing us outside again. And then we get what this game thinks stealth is. Spotlight says you die. It's simple rules, but I'm going to let you in on a little bit of a secret about this section. The game cheats. Some of these turrets just snap to you at random. You will get through this section on pure luck. And no, you can't just go around the turrets because, for whatever reason, it's too cold up there, so you die. It is a pain. You just have to brute force through this section, and eventually you will get through. Like, I did make a discovery that if you get spotted, you can just run underneath the activated turret, and it won't damage you. So there is a strategy there, but I'm pretty sure that's a bug, so, it's probably not intended. This section is just a slog. You might get lucky, you might not. Any gameplay mechanic or section that relies on luck is normally bad design. There are some exceptions, like stat checks in RPGs, for example. But combat that has a random chance of dodging, but no informed player choice to block an attack, that's bad design. And that's what this section reminds me of. It's just fucking pure chaos. And you just have to keep at it until you pass it. But that doesn't mean this next section is any better, because we have to hit the X button to do some parkour. So we climb up a ledge, we shimmy across it, which much like the pipes has an awful animation. We dodge a turret and ultimately get confused because there is nothing which seems to indicate a point of progression up here. We can't break the glass, there doesn't seem to be a door. I even tried getting the turret to break the glass for me. There's no dice for any of them. I did go back to that save file and explore a bit, and I don't know what the intended path was. I would assume it would be up on the roof, because you can use the parkour system to get up there. It's an intended mechanic, so why isn't it up there? So I, like most people, I just no-clipped into the building and accidentally into a cutscene, for which I have no context for. I may have missed a cutscene before, I may have missed an entire chapter, I quite literally don't know. And admittedly, that is my fault. But I didn't see a point of ingress into the building up there. So I simply I don't know. Boris is an interesting character. Our first introduction is your typical, oh my god, look at how cool this man is type of intro. He plays a fucking piano and you send his daughter to her fucking room. Sigma male energy right there. Is Mitchell No, Mitchell's dressed like a Russian ocelot, isn't it? From like Metal Gear. Are you fucking kidding me? The parallels are simply too clear to be anything else, right? Through this cutscene, we learn that Boris helps run a factory that produces combined slave labor using children. And the children help make incinerators, which are a cut enemy from Half-Life 2. They're basically mobile, like, Nazi death chambers, for lack of a better phrase. They just burn anyone who isn't working or isn't doing what the Combine wants.
But in this case, we are the trash.
Are those children?
Yes, this is how they control all the new generations. The Combine raises them as slaves, forcing any child older than the age of 5 to start to work.
What about those younger than 5?
There are none.
How many are there in this factory?
About 100. I know what you think, and I have the same feelings. It disgusts me, but I have to work for them. For my daughter. That's the only way.
I don't think that's disgusting at all.
Did Mitchell really just say that shit?
Think about it. Wasn't the main reason we were trying to go to space for decades for the resources? If we had the power to enslave them, wouldn't we? Hell, we enslave our own kind. We couldn't care less about an alien race. That's just nature playing out its own game. It's always been between predator and prey. That's the balance. But this time, the tables are turned. They got to us before we got to them, pulling our resources, draining the oceans, enslaving humans. Enjoy your time while you can, Boris, because sooner or later humans will rise up and put a stop to this. But this time round, humans won't even last 7 hours. They won't stop with the military. They will come for all of us, even for you and your daughter.
Did he really just say that the Combine are justified in slaughtering an entire race and putting their children to work? All because Mitchell wouldn't enslave them if he got the chance? Is this man really that level of 4chan big brain? Like, I cannot believe that is a line that was written in a script. And you know that was one of those moments where the lead dev goes out of their way to self-insert their own ideology because they think it's such a galaxy brain take. When in reality, it's the kind of shit that a 15-year-old would come up with and then immediately grow out of.
You are a wise man indeed. Even though I do not share the same feelings as you, I have to agree that, with what you say, you are correct. We just may be closer to the end sooner than we think. But there's a difference between you and me. Until that day, I will not give up on humanity.
You're a good man, Boris. Now get out of here. Take your daughter and leave.
What do you have in mind?
I'm gonna burn the whole factory to the ground and take those kids with me.
You will do this for the children.
I will, but not for the children. I need an army.
Right
He
after
needs
you-
an army? Oh, Mitchell, surely not. Come on, buddy, you're better than that. Don't do it.
Do what you have to do and leave.
Even if you don't do this for the children, I do appreciate it. And I won't forget that.
Mitchell,
Thank you, Mitchell. We'll meet again.
we will.
Oh god, he's doing it. We'll sadly have to wait to see what Mitchell does with the children, because we need to fight Combine. We have to do it quickly. It's time to blow up this factory. This section is more of the combat that I complimented earlier. In fact, it's more of it. It's heaps more, in fact. This section is literally weight-based survival. I didn't realize until the end, however, but once you do, it gets way more enjoyable. I thought I had to keep on moving forward, but no, you're meant to wait. The game just fails to tell you that as per normal. The sequence, otherwise, is, as per normal again, bland. There's no unique flavour, but then again, vanilla is still a good flavour sometimes, right? The sequence does end in a strange way. We jump forward 17 years. And I don't have screen capture of this, so you just have to believe me, but we jump forward in time. 17 years. Those children we just rescued are now 22 or something. And, well, the They're our army now. Mitchell is an African warlord. Mitchell is, in fact, Coney 2012.